Hey y'all, it's Katie. Welcome back to From My Vanity and welcome to an extremely overdue monthly makeup review for November. It's been a little crazy. The month, or just like the Thanksgiving season, did not go as I had expected or planned it to. So because of that, that's one of the reasons that my monthly makeup review is coming to you guys so late in the month. But better late than never, right? At least I hope so. I did have a wonderful Thanksgiving season though, and I got to spend about 2 weeks with my family, which is fantastic because I haven't been back home since the beginning of this year when my son was first born. So it was really nice being back home and just back in my old stomping ground once again. And even though we were battling and dodging illnesses the whole time, I feel like that's just a part of winter. It was still a wonderful time, and yeah, it was really nice being back with them. A couple little changes. I cut my hair. It's now right at where the camera kind of stops, so it kind of looks like it's the same, but I cut almost 12 inches off of it. I mean, it was 12 inches if you included like the tail, because I had a lot of layers, so I feel like the last 2 inches were just a little wispy at the end because they're from the center, but if you include that, I cut 12 inches off of my hair and it feels so good, so nice. Got some bangs going. They're not too good today, so please don't judge because I haven't washed my hair, oh my gosh, I think we're coming up on a week, and usually around the 1 week mark is where they just get too greasy to really do much besides push them to the side. But anyway, I'm excited to have bangs again. I'm excited to have short hair again. But anyway, all that gushing aside, let's just go ahead and dive right in. I do want to say one more thing. Of course, I always have something else to add. I'm not going to be doing a get ready with me for the month of December because I'm behind on so many videos. It would probably come to you guys like towards the end of the month, and then 2 weeks later, I would be doing another one for January. So I'm just going to go ahead and skip it for this month and try to get out the other videos that I've really been wanting to get out to you guys. So I hope that's okay, but I just wanted to like officially let you guys know. Also, the monthly makeup review series, per usual, was inspired and totally gotten from Samantha March. So if you guys don't follow her, I always leave her channel link down below. But anyway, with all that said, let's go ahead and jump into my fails. Okay, did I have some fails? Oh my goodness. Let's go ahead and start with the most disappointing. Yeah, I would say this is the most disappointing from this month. It was a Profusion Cosmetics 5-color face palette. I had high expectations because I have tried several of Profusion's face palettes in the past. I particularly like their highlighters. Like I have a couple highlighter palettes that I've tried, and while some I like more than others, overall they've been good. And then also their contours, I feel like typically I really like them. This palette, however, was pretty darn awful. For starters, this bronzer is almost my skin tone. Like, it's for a very pale person if it's gonna bronze anyone. And then also the blush. I tried to put this blush right here on today, and I probably went back and forth 5 times trying to get to show up so you guys could actually like see it. I can't even see it in real life, and usually if, you know, for me and my blush, like I can see it in real life, but I still wear it light enough that you guys can't see it on camera. So no, like I am sitting here looking, I cannot see a hint of blush at all. There's just no color to this. Same with this color too. This one I would put on my cheeks and you can just see a sheen. There really isn't a lot of color with this blush either. This one really, it doesn't have a sheen at all. It doesn't look like anything. Like you swatch it and you get some color, but then when if you try to pick it up with a brush and blend it in, it just kind of puffs away. It doesn't stick. It's really odd. The 2 highlighters in this palette were by far like the highlights of it. Here they are. I know they look pretty much the same, but this one right here, when you stab into it with a brush, it has a pink color that shows up. But when you swatch it, there's no pink. But I don't think you can even see, but even as I'm just swatching it here, pink is showing up. I don't know, it was just different with that really strong pink overcast that I don't think you guys are going to be able to see. But like I said, this one was really nice. But considering that I really only liked one product in this palette, it's just not worth it for me. And I just couldn't believe how big of a dud the other, you know, contour and cheek products were. So this was a big fail for me. Yeah, I didn't like it. Next up, these are the Rimmel Stay Satin lip colors. I had high expectations for this, but it disappointed me a lot. For starters, this one in Take a Chill Pill, it's extremely streaky. This color, because it's a darker one, it's not as streaky. I didn't notice having to go over a lot of times to get the lines out like I did with this one. So this is the one I was testing because I didn't want to look like concealer lips. This is the one I tested out this month, and I did wear it in a video. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'll link it up here. I think it's my Boxycharm review and unboxing, but I wore it in that video, so if you want to go see that video to see the color and how it looks on my lips. I think it looks nice. It appears to wear, like wearing it when you're at the like 4 or 5 hour mark. Just looking at myself in the mirror, I thought it looked very nice, but wearing it and actually like having it on my lips, I hated it. It felt so sticky. It felt very thick. Even though it's not a thick formula, it just felt heavy on my lips. It felt sticky, and it was one of those formulas that just weren't comfortable to wear. It reminded me of a really bad permanent liquid lipstick, except, and this is kind of the kicker of why I ended up in my fails, it transfers everywhere. And while when it transfers, you still have color on your lips, so it doesn't look like, you know, it's wearing off. So I appreciate that, but it transfers onto everything. Your cups, my son, it got everywhere. If you touch your lips, it just comes right off, basically. If it's gonna be that uncomfortable and still get all over the place, I'd rather wear a matte liquid lipstick that doesn't transfer and is uncomfortable to wear. And it, you know, at least it won't be getting all over the place, if that makes sense. It just felt so much like a really thick and really drying matte liquid lipstick that, you know, typically doesn't transfer, but it still transferred all over the place. So I don't know. I did not enjoy any time I had to put this on my lips. It just really felt like almost the instant you swiped it on, I could just feel my lips going like drying out, like all the moisture just sucked. It felt like it sucked the life out of my lips. So did not like these. Don't plan to keep them around. Next up, I have the Burt's Bees trio. It's an eyeshadow trio called Dusky Woods. And typically when I was going into this, I was like, well, maybe it'll be in my finds, because you guys shouldn't be surprised, but this isn't really the colors I'm going for anymore. But I was expecting a good formula. I had tried it once before for a post. I can leave that link down below if you want to see the look I did. But I tried it once before. They swatch nicely, they blend nicely. But as I wore it this past month a couple times and tested the longevity of it, and I tried it with 2 different types of primers, my Holy Grail and then just a different one, I noticed that it fades very badly on me, and not like so badly that it was gone, but when I put my eyeshadow on and then when I look at it at the end of the night, it just looks so faint, if that makes sense. It just looks very faint from when I started. And for me, I mean, I know of so many, and I have so many eyeshadows in my collection, even neutral colors, that when I put them on in the morning, they look the same 12 hours later. I don't know, just seeing how much they wore away throughout the day really disappointed me with this formula. For me, this was definitely a fail. If you're someone who has very dry eyelids or just never has any problems with fading or creasing, maybe this is worth looking into. But for me, it was just, you know, performance-wise, it was a dud. So I'm putting this in my fail, but I do want to clarify that I don't have a lot of experience with brow pomades. And this is the Krisanna Cosmetics Brow Pomade in medium brown. She sent it to me, which was really sweet, and I was excited to get to using it. Like I said, I don't have a lot of experience with brow pomades, so maybe all brow pomades are like this and I just don't know. But I feel like as I would take it and like brush out my brows or anything like that, it would get little chunky flakes that would come off. Or when I was dipping it in, and even when I was like brushing it off, I would see chunks on the side. And then like initially where I started to put down my brush, if there was too much product on the end, it would just kind of ball up and, you know, fall away. So I didn't appreciate that in the formula. Again, maybe that's just typical of brow pomades, and I don't know that. And if that is the case, feel free to let me know down below. But on top of that, this brow pomade didn't stay well in my brows. At the end of the night, I would sit there and kind of rub it and it would get all over. And if there was any kind of moisture on my face, you know, raining outside, kids crying on my face, whatever the case may be, I did notice that it would start to blur, if that makes sense. It wouldn't streak and it wouldn't get crazy dirt, you know, crazy messy all over my face, which I appreciated, but it still moved. And for me, typically with the brow products that I have had experience with, I never have to worry about them leaving my face. So for this to be more of a hassle and, you know, not perform as well as just a quick, easy, one and done pencil for me. And maybe I wouldn't be so harsh on it if I didn't have as much brows and I needed that brow pomade, a really strong brow pomade to put my brows on in the morning. But for me, being a very full eyebrow gal and not needing that much help, this just was a big hassle. And then the performance-wise, it just was a fail for me, so. Okay, last up for fails is the Kiss Strip Lash Adhesive with biotin and blueberry, latex-free brush-on eyelash glue. This is in the color black because I was wanting to try to find a more affordable lash glue just because I don't have a lot of experience with it. I've only ever used the Duo lash glue, which I believe I am allergic to something or just sensitive to something in that lash glue, because anytime I would use it, my eyes would run and just water the entire time I had it on my eyes. And then I've tried the House of Lashes lash glue, which I love because it doesn't make my eyes water. So anyway, I've been curious to try more and just see if I can find one that doesn't make my eyes water and is okay on my lashes and is more affordable, and also so I can recommend a more affordable lash glue, because at this point the only one I ever recommend is House of Lashes. So anyway, there's the backstory, but I tried this because I saw a couple people use it recently in YouTube videos or just recommend it, and it is affordable, so I was like, maybe I'll like it. I really appreciate that it has the brush tip. I just find that makes it really easy putting it on your, you know, the strip of your lash. But the reason this isn't a fail is because I still think it irritates something in my eyes. It's not as bad as a Duo lash glue, and when I go and put it on my eyes, it dries down and sets very nicely, but I can feel something. It doesn't make my eyes water that badly. As long as I keep it away from like close to the inner corner, it won't water. If it gets too close, then waterworks start to happen, but I still feel something. It's not a tingle, it's nothing painful, but I just feel a reaction happening with my eyes. And then once I feel that, give it about 5-10 minutes, I go look at my lashes in the mirror and the corner has popped up. So there's definitely something about it that makes my eye or the skin around my eye just give off moisture, which then makes the eyelash pop off. So for me, it was a fail. All right, let's move on into my okay product category. I have several products in here as well. Let's start with what I have on my brows. It's the Maybelline Tattoo Studio Brow Gel. The reason this is getting a okay for me is because it's a hassle for me to use, and like I was saying with my brow pencils, pencils are so much faster. It takes a lot of extra time for me to use this because this applicator is like the dumbest ever. It looks like what you would use to apply a lipstick on it. Like it's that doe foot fuzzy applicator, and I just don't understand why they didn't put a little like brow mascara wand in here, because that would make a lot more sense, and it would make a lot more sense on how you could easily lightly apply it through your brows and go. Because the product itself, I find outstanding. It really does keep my brows down. It keeps it down to almost where you feel like you glued it down, and so if you don't like that, maybe you wouldn't like this product. I don't mind it. I can still feel it throughout the day, but if it keeps my brows in place, I'm okay. So I like the product. It keeps my brow hairs in place. It colors in and conceals the patches that I have in the sparse areas in my brows, and it lasts really long. At the end of the night, like I would sit there and kind of rub, and I have to rub for a while to really see much like transfer going on. So I think the product itself is fantastic, but the way of application is a big turnoff. There's been several times this past month where I would be like, ooh, like I should try that out, or like let me wear it because I really do like it. But then it was like, I have to get a brow brush out and I have to sit there and like open this and take it out and like get some on it, put it on, brush it out. It was just a little more of a hassle for me, and I know that might be super lazy, but it was, to be honest, it's a deterrent for me to want to use this. So that's why I put it in my okay category. Next up, let's talk about the Too Faced Gingerbread Spice Palette. This was a nice palette. I'm not going to sit here and say I hated it, but it's in the okay category because I didn't find it a fail. I think that the looks I created were really pretty and I did enjoy them, but it's not a favorite because I'm just not super drawn to these colors, and there were a few things about this palette that kind of just irked me a little bit more. It's definitely not my favorite Too Faced palette. My favorite palette is still the Chocolate Gold palette. That is a beautiful, stunning palette, and the formula, I feel like that overall is such a hit compared to this. I did an eye swatch video for this. If you want to see, I can leave it linked up here, but I swatched all of these on my eyes, and I kind of share with you which ones I thought worked well and which ones were duds. This shadow right here, it's the Frostbite, a total dud. It's just like, you can barely see it. It just gives a wash of color. And if you try to use that on your eyes on a brush, it just flakes all over the place. And even when you use your finger, you still have to use some type of glitter glue, and it gives like no color at all. I just didn't understand that. But a couple other things about this palette that kind of annoyed me is that these two shades on your eyes look the same. Like, I don't understand why they had to have these three in here. I feel like they could have had one and been good. Same story for like this And this, it's very similar when you put them on your eyes. I wish they would have given more of a variation so that depending on your color, like if you were really light, you could use this, but I wish they would have put one a bit darker so that if you were of a darker complexion, you could use this in your crease too. Giving us two shades that are just like a tiny tonal difference didn't really make sense to me. And then another thing that just really bothered me with this palette is that all these shimmers, some of them are that super creamy, super intense and beautiful formula that I love from Too Faced, and that is what is mostly in the chocolate gold palette. But there are definitely a bunch of shades in here that I just don't like. They feel dry, they have a ton of glitter in them that no matter what you use, still fall out all over your face throughout the day, glitter glue or not. And they're so rough feeling. Like, I just lightly put my finger in there, and while I guess it looks like it has color on it, there's just all these chunky bits standing up on it. I just don't understand how they can have something so creamy right next to it that gives us such beautiful pigmentation and color and looks gorgeous on the skin, and then give us something that's like super dry and crumbly next to it. It still works. You can get it to work on your eyes. You can get it to make a lot of pretty looks, but it was something that I just found annoying. This palette was just so-so for me with the hits and misses in it, and because it was so in the middle, I feel like half the shades I was like, yes, and half of them I was like, nah. For me, I just feel like this wasn't really worth the purchase for me. Like I said, go check out my eye swatch video and kind of see, I give little like reviews on how I think the quality of each shadow is, so you can kind of check it out and see like, okay, does this palette have more shades that I would like and the formula that I would prefer to work with to make it worth the purchase for me, or would it not? And that I hope would kind of help you to make a decision if you want to purchase this or not, which I think it's already gone. I heard some people saying it's already like totally sold out and not coming back. It'll probably be back in 2 months, so maybe my review will be helpful, but if it doesn't come back, I don't really feel like you're missing much for me personally. And also take into consideration when I say that I'm not super into these colors, so that was another strike against it. So I hope that helps. The mattes in here aren't terrible. That is definitely where I saw the most shine. Like, this is such a pigmented color. Gorgeous on the eyes, and it shows up that pigmented when you blend it into your crease. Loved it. This shade is also really pretty. This was very bright and bold on my eyes, so there were a lot of mattes in here that I thought were outstanding and really nice quality. That creamy formula that makes blending really nice. But yeah, overall, there are pros, there are cons, but for me, it just fell in the middle. It's not going to be something I think to be like, oh yes, I want to use this palette today. It'll definitely be something that like, oh, I want to wear like an orange and green look. Let me grab out this palette. It'll definitely be a very selective palette where I'm only going to reach for it if I want to use like these brighter colors. So it's in the okay category for me. Next up is another palette, and I am so heartbroken to put it in this category, but it is in the okay category, and it is not a fail, so it's not totally harsh, but it is the Menagerie Cosmetics Feral palette. I wanted to love this palette, and the first, I don't know, 5 or 6 looks that I did with this palette, I was like, yes, I love this. You love this, Katie. It's great. It blends well. It looks nice. But the last, I don't know, 3, 4 looks, I can't remember how many looks I did with this. I know I didn't save them all, but I did well over a week's worth of looks with this palette. The more I used it, the more I had to just face the facts that I do not like the formula. Well, not that I don't like it. The formula doesn't work as well for me. I do have this on my eyes today. I use the yellow and the greens, and I love how it looks, but something I consistently found was that by the end of the day, there was a lot of fading and patchiness going on, specifically with the greens. I would notice that the deeper colors on the outside were starting to look patchy or just worn away, and I was like, okay, maybe that's just because I'm using the Smashbox primer. That's not like my holy grail primer. Sometimes that one won't be enough. So I started using my Lorac behind the scenes, which I never have a problem with. And while it was better, it wasn't faded as much. I could still see some patchiness and some fading at the end of the day. Let's talk about the colors. This whole row is such a waste. Like, these 3 colors, they look pretty darn similar on your eyes. There's not too much of a difference. It worked because there were a couple times when I was testing this palette that I used this top row to create a neutral look, but I don't know. I look at this palette and that bottom row just doesn't make sense at all. So that aside, another thing that kind of bothered me, and honestly I wish they would have just taken one of these out and replaced it with a shimmery color. It could have been this same pink color. Just make it like shimmery like this. that would make more sense to me, because that's another thing I felt like this palette was missing, was an inner corner highlight. I'm not someone who likes to put like pink or green in the inner corner, and for them all to look the same, I was like, every time I use this palette, I was like, I wish one of these would have been some type of like intense metallic shimmer. That would have been so pretty. Add to that, these two shimmers, wow, they are stunning. Like, I think it's gorgeous on my eyes. They're a very unique color. Like, I pushed my finger in there pretty hard, and it almost like it just stained my skin instead of transferring color. Like, it almost feels like a cream. It's that odd. And while it's gorgeous when you swatch it, I think it's absolutely stunning. If you aren't prepared to like do it on your eyes and press it with a good amount of pressure on your lid, I found whenever I would use a brush, it would take so much work to get it to transfer. Like, I would have to sit there and really press it into the pan and like tap it on my eyes, go back in. Like, I couldn't swipe it because swiping it just didn't deposit enough. I would have to sit there and press it into each section of my eyes, and that just takes a lot of time in my opinion. It almost looks like it has hard pan, but it doesn't. I've never used these wet. That's just how they are. So yeah, there was just too many strikes against this palette. I kept trying to love it and saying like, yes, you love this, you know, I do like the color selection, barring this. I do like the color selection, think it's really pretty, but I had to face the fact that I'm not a fan of the formula, and maybe it's just because I have super oily eyelids, but I don't know. Blending it was a dream, but if it's not going to last on my eyes, that's a serious drawback for me. I will continue to use it, and I can definitely get looks out of it. Like, I think this looks stunning, but it's just looks that I need to put on knowing that it's not going to look that good by the end of the night. And that's okay, you know, some days, you know, or if you don't care for it to hold up for 12 hours. But my standard is that I like my eyeshadows to look good the whole day and still look good when I take them off 12, 14 hours later. So that definitely put a damper on me with this palette, and I did actually buy the Dragon Child palette. I haven't touched it or swatched it or anything, and I'm honestly thinking of just like reselling it or something, because I don't really want to use it if the quality is going to be the same as this palette and still not have longevity on my eyes. So if you use both palettes, let me know if you notice a difference with the formula wise. Maybe they did something different with this palette and that's why it's not lasting as long. Maybe the colors are why it's not lasting as long, because I feel like greens are pretty tricky to formulate. But yeah, this was a big bummer for me. It wasn't a total fail, like I said, because the eye looks you got were stunning and this blends so easily, so nicely, but it didn't last, and that really bummed me. So, okay, so next is the Laura Geller Cover Lock Cream Foundation. Let's talk about the formula. I think the formula of this is beautiful. It is a very full coverage foundation, but it gives me a flawless coverage, and I love that about it. And also on top of that, it holds up beautifully. At the end of the day, I would put this on in the morning, we'll go to wash it off at night. I really only saw wear away around my mouth. It was still perfectly in place on my cheeks, and it looked pretty darn decent on my forehead. So I loved how this performed on my face, but the reason it is in the okay category is because this is the shade Light. Let's pour some out. It's not even coming across on camera. It looks lighter than my skin. This is orange on my skin. I wish I was better with my lighting and white balance so that it could show up properly. I put this on my face today because I wanted to wear it because for the video I wanted to wear one of the two foundations I was reviewing. And I wanted to wear this one because I think it looks beautifully. But I put this on, I blended it down my neck, and I just felt like an Oompa Loompa. And while I can correct it with a bunch of concealer around my face and kind of, highlighting it and then setting it with a really light setting powder that gives a little bit of coverage, I can make it work. It's hard to make it work, and even when I'm done and walk away, my face is still darker than my neck. And that just annoys me. And this is in the shade Light. I went on my phone after I finished getting ready, and I do see that there is other colors. There are two other colors lighter than this. There's Fair and Porcelain, so there is another shade. I could go Fair. I feel like I'm not fair though, but I did notice that they have another color one up that's medium that online, for some reason, it looks lighter than the Light. I don't understand the color selection. So I am going to go back to Ulta and see if I can exchange it for another one and hopefully be able to try it on in stores so I can see if I should just return it all together or if I can try to make this work, because I do like how this looks and holds up on my skin. But the color range just baffles me, and the fact that Light looks orange on my skin perplexes me. So that's why it's in the okay category. So another foundation that's making it into my okay category is the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Define Full Coverage Foundation. Namely because once again, shade selection. I originally purchased this shade F8, and I put F8 on this side of my face. And I feel like it's not too bad if I have my hair down, but it's still darker and just off. The undertone is off. It doesn't match, basically. So I was like, okay, let me get another shade. I was placing an order, so I decided to buy F6.5 and F5. So I was like, let me go to F5 because I think that would be good if I just took it down a shade or two. I put this on and it still looked dark, which I was just like, wait, what? And I put this shade F5. I put that on this side of my face. And it's hard for me to make sure I'm actually showing you something. It's closer, but the undertone is still weird for me. Like, this is my undertone. I always have the hardest time matching my undertone. I am warm, but I'm not neutral, but I'm not super warm. Like, I'm not Oompa Loompa, but I'm not cool. I'm definitely not pink undertoned. I'm like a very neutral olive, I think. I don't know. I still can't figure out my undertone. But anyway, I put this on. It was still just a little off, so I was like, okay, let me try F6.5. Maybe I can mix these two and discover a happy medium. So I put this on. It was like white. I was just like, holy cow, that is not my shade. White. That's showing up actually kind of true to color. I just could not believe how light this was when it was 6.5. And I have a 6.5 that's darker than the 6. I don't understand the shade selection. With that said, the actual formula is very nice on my skin, and I actually really love it. I do not like it on my my forehead, so whenever I would wear this, after a couple times, I stopped putting it on my forehead altogether and went in with another foundation on my forehead because it would settle into the lines, like my expression lines. It would settle in and stay there. So even when I was relaxed, I could still see the lines. Not a cute look, so it was definitely way too heavy for my forehead. But on my cheeks, it gave very nice coverage. It blended out so easily. Like, I think I used this in my Get Ready For Me, which I can leave it linked up here if you want to see. But I remember using it in that video, and I like did 3 swipes, went to blend it in, and I like did, you know, a couple swirls, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, that's blended already. I cannot believe how easy this is to blend in and look seamless. Longevity throughout the day was also really nice. It still wore away around my nose and around my mouth, but on my cheeks, it looks as beautiful at night as it did in the morning, and that I found very impressive. So this would definitely be a foundation that I would want to pull and just kind of put on my cheeks and then put another foundation, you know, on my T-zone, on my forehead, and then down the center of my nose. Maybe that's a bit high maintenance to keep a foundation just for concealing and, you know, giving nice coverage to my cheeks, but I really liked how it laid. It looked beautiful on my skin. I thought, I just got to figure out the shade range, and I'm not looking forward to that. It's in my okay category. I hope all that made sense. I feel like I was very rambly for this, but story time. Okay, now that we've talked about all of those fails and okay products, let's talk about some favorites. Let's talk about the NYX Holographic Holo Eye Tint in Fairy Dust. I have this as my inner corner highlight, and I think it's stunning. This is probably my favorite way to use it, is as an inner corner highlight. And it is so pretty because this looks like a pinky white. Yeah, it almost looks brown, or like more of a champagne, but it's like a pinky white with a blue shift in the bottle. But depending on what kind of eyeshadow look you put this on top of, it like can take on that color. Cause like I remember pulling this and thinking, this looks really pink, but let me try it on like this green look I had going, and it turned looking more goldish. It was stunning. If I can find that look that I used it for, or if I can remember which one it was, I'll put it here, and it's all, I just put it like all over my eye as a cut crease. It was gorgeous. I was so impressed. You definitely do have to make sure you use this lightly, and I would say try to put a base color underneath because, like you can see, it doesn't give a lot of color, and while it doesn't look bad, like when you have the reflection, on a different angle, you can really see your skin underneath it. So I would definitely say, if you can, put a base color and then put this on top of it just so it has some help not looking patchy or anything like that. But yes, I love this. It wore beautifully. Definitely keep a thin layer. If you do too much, it'll start to get really crackly throughout the day. And I would imagine even more so if you had really hooded eyes. But with a thin layer, this stayed on really well, and I didn't really feel like I needed to have glitter glue underneath it either. I used it once without any, and I thought it wore just as beautifully, looked just as well, and no fallout or anything. So this was definitely a big win from this month. Another one that I have was the J.Cat's Holographic 3D Eye Topper. This is in Wink Tink. This looks like a type of blue-green in the tube, but this is also another one that, depending on what you put it on top of, it can really take on the color. And I put this on top of like a very mossy kind of like mustards and, you know, what is it called? Khaki green? No, not khaki green, hunter green. And it definitely looked a lot more green. And then I put it on top of more of a blue green and it showed up more like this. So it's definitely one that can take the color. It's right here. Can kind of take on the color that you put underneath it. This one, even more so than this one, this definitely needs something underneath, because if you try to like layer it up so that it is opaque enough, you will have it looking so crinkly and nasty. It's not pretty, and then it'll just crease really heavily shortly thereafter. So definitely a very light layer on top of a base color, and it looks very pretty. This is one that, again, if you use a light enough layer, I didn't need to use glitter glue underneath or anything, and I still thought it looked beautifully. Definitely another winner for this month. It is not, neither of these are anything to compare to the Stila Glitter and Glows, because neither of them have that glitter chunkiness that the Stila ones do, but for a metallic look on your eyes, either one of these, I highly recommend. Next up, I have the Smashbox, the Cali Contour Palette. I wasn't very surprised, but this is an absolute favorite for this month. I have their other contour palette, which is this, this, and this, and the formula is amazing. It is so easy to blend these onto your face. I don't have it on my face today. I totally blanked and used the bronzer I'm trying to pan today instead of this, because I meant to use this, but it is stunning. Like I said, this, and this, I think are the original shade that they have in their little trio. If you've been eyeing that palette, I would say get this one, because you also get a really pretty blush that shows up so well. It's one of those very light blushes, but unlike that Profusion one, you take a little bit of this and put on your cheeks and you can instantly see a flush of color. I think it's gorgeous. And then the two highlighters are very pretty as well. I have the highlight on this one on my cheeks today. Gorgeous. This one right here was too dark for me to use when I did use it as a highlight. I just felt like when you look straight on, my cheekbone looked very muddy, so it's definitely not for my skin color. But with that said, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shades out of 6, or 5 pans out of 6, I really enjoyed and will get a lot of good use out of. So this palette was still a worthwhile purchase for me, and I do really love and highly recommend. The packaging is on point. I love that you can bend it all the way back and just kind of set it there, or it's got a really large mirror. I use this a lot when I was traveling to get ready, because several of my palettes didn't have mirrors in them. So it was nice. I like the flexibility of it. It's just, Smashbox's face products are so beautiful. So like, they're just one of my favorites for cheek products, bronzing and contouring especially, but I love their blushes as well. And yeah, no surprise here, but this was definitely a favorite of mine from this past month. Next up, I have the Mavie Take Me to Santorini palette. This palette just came out of nowhere and stole my heart. Look at those colors. Tell me that isn't gorgeous. I love playing with this. It's definitely took me outside of my box and outside of my comfort zone, because the shades that you use to like smoke out your outer corner and just the shimmers, the color selection and the matte and shimmer ratio was very different and unique. So I had to kind of be a little more playful with my makeup, which I appreciated. I know in my initial video I said this one was a little sheer, and honestly after trying all of these, that's really the only one that's sheer. This shade right here I feel like is a little out of place in this kind of palette with this color selection. It just kind of felt like I never really used it, but it is a nice shadow if you do like it. Yeah, overall this is gorgeous, but one thing I want to throw out there, it still smells really bad. I was hoping it would kind of wear away, but I've been using it for the past month, had it open a lot. It still smells pretty darn strong, and anytime that I initially open it to use it, you get that whiff of, I don't know, packaging chemical glue. I have no idea what it is, but it's just a very strong kind of, I don't know, artificial, not nice scent. So I do want to point that out, that that's definitely not something that goes away. And if you don't like scents, or if you're just a little like, why does that smell like that? What am I putting on my eyes? Definitely something to be made aware of. The shimmers are so soft and so intense. They go on so beautifully. And then the mattes just like so pretty, and they just, yeah. I'm gonna go on and on. I did love this, and I've picked out another palette to try for this next month. I can't wait to try it and see if the quality is the same across the board, but definitely a stellar palette. I know it's a little bit pricey at $23 for a brand new brand that you have to, you know, buy off their website and can't get free shipping until $75. I forget what that was, but I really do like it, and I can say that I recommend it. So, all right, wiping all these swatches away before I get my shirt entirely dirty. We are on the last product. Whew. let's see how long this is, Katie. We are going to be talking about something that is not a makeup product. This is from Good Janes. It's a new brand, and I think it's just called #KissMyLashes. Honestly, I'm not sure exactly the name of this, but it is a three-way mirror, if that's not weird. When I first saw this, they pitched it to my email and were like, hey, you want to try this out? Do you want to talk about this? And I initially saw it and I was just like, that seems like a gimmick. So what it is it's a mirror there's a mirror here, here, and here. And they say it's supposed to help you put on your lashes. It's supposed to make it super duper easy to see underneath your lashes, on top of your lashes, straight on, all that sort of thing. So I was like, you know what? I'm curious. Send it to me. I want to see what this is all about. So I got it and I was like, okay, okay. Used it, instantly fell in love. Now, if you are a false lash expert, maybe you don't need this, but one of the things I always struggle with when I'm using a regular mirror and trying to put on my lashes is trying to get this corner, this outside corner, to lay as close to my lash line as possible. Usually I don't have a problem doing up here, but for some reason whenever I stick it here, I always stick it too high. And then when especially since I record and I see myself editing, whenever I look down, I can see if I have like a wonky lash, like just kind of going straight up or going all over the place, and it annoys me so much. It's a pet peeve of mine, and one of the reasons I don't wear lashes often, because I hate when, you know, that outside lash is going all over the place. Anyway, this baby makes it easy because you can look into it and then you can look down at this mirror, which reflects off of this mirror, and I can perfectly see where I placed my lash, and I can see that I got my lash right next to my lashes, or I got my false lashes right next to my lashes. Oh, that's confusing. But I used it that first time. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. This is kind of revolutionary. So I've used it, I think 4 times. I don't wear lashes often, but I've used it about 4 other times since then. And each time it's made putting on my lashes so easy. I'm just super excited to have this in my life. They also come with a stand. I have it up there, but you can get a magnetic stand, and it attaches to here so you can set it on your desk and be hands-free. I don't really find that necessary because I really only ever use one hand to apply my lashes, so I just hold it. But this thing, if you have a makeup lover in your life and you want to get them something creative and just like out of the box for Christmas, get them this, because I feel like this isn't something typically people have. I think they'll like it. I actually included this in a gift guide that hopefully has already gone live. It's been a gift guide I've been working on for a while and trying to get up. And if it's not live now, it'll be live soon. But I'm totally including this because I think it'd make a great gift for someone who has all the makeup they could ever want. Get them something that can help them apply their makeup a little bit easier, because yeah, I cannot believe, I can't really show you because it's just a bunch of mirrors, but I just love how easy it was to really see where my lashes are. And also to check throughout the day, I can like look and see like, oh, yep, what do you know? It's popped off because of that lash glue. It's already popped off in this corner, and the rest is looking good. But it's really nice to easily see without like taking, because usually in a traditional mirror, I just kind of pull down my lashes to look. But you really don't need to because you can just see it with this thing. So I feel like I'm gushing, but this is just something that I thought was super cool and very unique, and I had to include in this monthly favorites. One con, or not one con, but just like a critique to the brand, is I wish they would have put magnification mirror, at least maybe in this one. I don't know if it would work as well in these two, but at least in this one, because when I go and look at it, it's just a regular mirror. And I kind of wish I was a little more up close, kind of like the mirror that I use to get ready. I think it's 5 times magnification. I kind of wish they would have put that here just so I could get a little bit closer to my eyes when I'm putting on my false lashes. But really, that is honestly the only con I could find with this. So definitely a win from this month. All right, so there you have it. Now that I've officially talked your guys' ear off for, I have over an hour of footage. We'll see how long I can get the actual video down to, but those are all my favorites and fails and just okay products from this month. But I hope you guys enjoyed it and found it informative, and let's just keep this outro super short and sweet. I hope you guys are having a wonderful holiday season, and I cannot wait to see what 2019 will bring. I cannot believe my son is going to turn 1 on the 29th of this month, and I'm just like, wait, you're a year old? What's going on? But anyway, I hope you guys are having a fantastic end of the year, and I look forward to seeing you very soon in my next video. Bye guys.